There's 1,171 cards in standard.
That sounds great, actually.
That's really good.
That's the number of cards.
Right. Well, technically, we're
Well, but that times 4, but yeah.
However.
Well, let's do that then.
All right.
So, to clarify, $11.07. Actually, real quick, let's because it looks like he's ready. Let's bring Aaron Forsythe on, and then we will talk about this. Aaron, hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Great.
Good. Welcome.
Thank you. It's been a couple years.
It has, yeah. It's great to have you back.
You have navigated the perils of Skype calling with Desert Bus.
Yeah, their video feed is not making it to me, so I have the stream on one screen and blank Skype screen on the other one here.
So you'll be some number of seconds behind on the stream, but that's okay. We were just about to actually. Sorry, real quick. Who is this Aaron Forsythe from Wizards of the Coast? Just for those who are unaware.
Yes. I am the Senior Director of Magic the Gathering Research and Development, which means I am Mark Rosewater's boss, among other things. I'm in charge of all the teams that make all of the awesome card sets that we put out, from story, card set design, play testing and development, editing, and our digital stuff like Duels of the Planeswalkers. So, great group of people, super fun job, make awesome stuff.
Great. And before we get too deep into this call, we're actually just going to start a donation drive for this amazing prize that we have courtesy of Wizards, which is a Magic Online prize. So we can't really show anything off here, but it's a play set of Standard, which is it's amazing. It's 4
lots and lots of Magic cards.
Yeah, it's 4 of every card in Standard. So to clarify, that is 4 of every card in Khans of Tarkir, Fate Reforged, Dragons of Tarkir, Magic Origins, and Battle for Zendikar.
On Magic Online.
On Magic Online. And the chat tells us that there is 1,171 cards in Standard. So we're going to go with an $11.71 donation drive. And the way that this works is if you, at home, donate $11.71 through desertbus.org, you will be entered into a draw to win this. And if you donate multiples of that amount, you'll be entered multiple times. So
such as 4 times that amount.
Exactly. So please be generous. Please donate, and you could win something pretty amazing.
Graham, how long are we doing that giveaway for?
Oh, good point. Let's give it the rest of. Let's go until 7:30. So it's 50-ish minutes from now.
Okay.
So Aaron,
so if you've never played Magic Online, there's no better way to start than all of the cards you'll need.
No kidding. This is amazing. And if you want to maybe try a different format, you can use some of these cards to trade for other cards. That's the best part.
You can get into probably the entire Pauper metagame.
No kidding.
Should you desire?
Yeah. So you want to lead the questions?
Yeah, for sure. Well, Aaron, first of all, I mean, you are currently the head of R&D, but you came on as a web guy, right? Like you started back in the day doing stuff on Daily MTG.
Right. So I was originally a Magic player out in the wild like everybody else, played on a few Pro Tours, and was doing web content, both writing articles on Star City Games back in the day, other websites, and then I was doing some web aggregating on a site that no longer exists called meridianmagic.com. It was just like finding the best of the web for Magic each day, writing little synopses and posting them in one place. And when they were putting together Daily MTG, which didn't exist back then in 2000, they were contacting, high-profile Magic players that were doing web work out in the wild and asking us if we wanted to come in and audition to put together their new website. And I was the one that ended up with that job and did that for 2 years, kind of got Daily MTG off the ground back in 2001, and was hanging around in R&D in my spare time, and they offered me a job in there, and have just kind of been climbing all the way up to my current position in the time since.
That's super sweet. You are the ultimate. I don't want to say rags to riches, but you climbed the ranks all the way from player up through R&D to the very, very top.
Yeah, I often joke that I would not necessarily recommend my career choices to a normal person. I know I got a lot of lucky breaks, ended up in the right place at the right time, but I'm super fortunate it's happened.
So you're also the person who was in charge of Magic 2010 and sort of revamping core sets a few years ago to change the way that they worked and what they did in Magic.
Yep.
But recently
Yep.
we've seen core sets change again in that they're kind of going away.
Right, right.
So what
I
is
go further than that. I go further than kind of going away.
they are entirely going
they're,
away.
They're kind of gone.
Yeah.
So what's the philosophy behind that? How have things changed? What did you feel like what do you feel like you're solving by moving out of core sets and into this 2-block structure?
Well, I'll tell you, I was very proud of the change for 2010. And I shed my own private tear when we decided that we weren't going to do those anymore. But the reason is very good in that I think we have taken a lot of the philosophy of what made Magic 2010 such a success and just started applying it everywhere. And it isn't necessary for us to say we're going to have one set a year that we're trying to deliver resonant fantasy and accessible gameplay. We're going to be doing that everywhere now. And Battle for Zendikar has been a big success for us, and as you see, we're moving into Shadows over Innistrad, Innistrad was one of I think the most resonant Magic set we've ever done. And going forward, we're just approaching sets that way with that kind of fun top-down design, super resonant gameplay, and we don't need that kind of. It always felt like a kind of weird, different product than the rest of our sets, and a lot of our heavily enfranchised players felt like it wasn't for them. Even though we tried it as best as we could to put in new mechanics or put in tournament caliber cards, et cetera, that it never quite performed as well as the block sets did. And if we can infuse what was good about the core set into the block sets, that we can just have the best of both worlds.
That seems reasonable. There's another kind of related question here about the complexity level of Battle for Zendikar. Like, Battle for Zendikar Limited is awesome, but we're seeing in it some more complex mechanics making their way down to uncommon and even common. And for a while, you guys have been talking about reducing complexity at lower rarities to make sure that the game is accessible. Have there been any thoughts on that since the move in that direction around Rise of the Eldrazi?
Yeah, I mean, Battle for Zendikar, I do think is over the line of where we want sets to be complexity-wise. To me, the biggest offender in that space is the Devoid mechanic. That was never supposed to be words on the card. We were hoping that Devoid could just be a presentation style for the cards of just, it has a blue mana cost, but the frame is colorless and the card looks colorless. But through all of our internal testing with people outside of R&D, no one got that, so we had to write it on there, which just meant now suddenly we have a whole other mechanic that we're going to need to explain to people. And I mean, in some ways, Battle for Zendikar is 2 sets smashed together. Like, it's all of what we wanted, what we delivered in the first Zendikar, plus all of what we delivered in Rise of the Eldrazi. And we felt like if we didn't put all of this stuff in there that in either side, they would feel incomplete. It wouldn't give players what they expected. So it's kind of 2 worlds, 2 sets smashed together from how we normally approach things. And I do think it has ended up over the line from what I would hope. But our future sets have learned a lot from that.
Cool.
Do you have an opinion, this is yet another question, on the squirrel creature type?
Yes, I do. I'm actually a fan of the squirrel creature type. My one big tournament success playing constructed Magic was with Deranged Hermits in all the decks I was playing that made 1/1 squirrel tokens. There will be a day and a time for squirrels to come back. So I don't know exactly when that's going to be, but they have enough fans that it's something we're going to have to deliver on someday.
There's a question from the chat that I think is kind of interesting. Maybe this is more of a rules question. But why, if when you were doing Devoid, if it didn't work to do it just sort of implying it with the card frame, why did you decide to go with the ability devoid and then saying this card is colorless rather than just the text this card is colorless?
Let's see. That was definitely a choice. This card is colorless.
Because there's what was the other? There was a I can't remember the name of it.
Ghostfire was the other card.
Yeah, there was Ghostfire.
Oh,
but also
right.
From like original Ravnica, there was like this card is all colors.
Okay,
even though it was an artifact.
we definitely tested writing. Spell shrivel is colorless on the card, and what ended up happening was people did not realize that it was mutually exclusive with being blue. People thought, okay, it's colorless and it's blue. And it's like, no, that's not true. It is not blue. And they're just like, it's colorless, just like an artifact. So it's like a blue artifact. It's like, no, it's not blue. It's not blue. So the text we needed really to write on there was this card has no color, which is not the rules text we use when something is colorless. So we made that the reminder text for devoid. And then it was easy for us to, then it gave us something to talk about, like devoid as opposed to colorless, because there are lots of things that are colorless in Magic. Lands are colorless, artifacts are colorless, morphs are colorless. But when we say devoid, that's a nice snappy word that allows us to describe these cards with colored mana costs and no color. Whereas the part saying, the colored colorless cards or the blue colorless, no, that's the problem.
Right, okay.
We're trying to avoid that confusion.
That makes
But
sense.
it helped give it a label that everyone can use when describing that.
That makes sense. If I can jump in with another question, I just saw from the chat. Someone in the chat was asking about the computer-generated cards on the Robo Rosewater Twitter account, and I'm curious if you are even allowed to look at those, or if you're in a similar position to the actual Rosewater, who I believe has said that he just sort of has to avoid looking at things like that.
Well, we are not supposed to look at unsolicited card submissions, but I will say that when things end up plastered all over my social media feed, it's hard to avoid them. So yeah, I'm aware of it. I've looked at a few of them, even inadvertently. I cannot avoid them. People are amused by them, and I end up seeing them. So they are funny, some of them for sure.
All right, cool. We think they're hilarious.
Yeah. So another question for you. There have been a lot of cards that have appeared in various constructed formats over the years that maybe were a little bit of a surprise. For me, Delver of Secrets springs to mind, where it was sort of like, okay, this is obviously a kind of cool card, and then suddenly it was winning Legacy Grand Prix and Opens and whatnot all over the place before anyone really expected it to. Was there a single card? And I think I might know your answer to this, but I'm curious to hear you say it or hear what your answer is. Is there a single card that you would point out as being very surprisingly powerful in Standard, much more so than the development team sort of realized when it was in playtesting?
I'm sure there is. Delver of Secrets is certainly a perfect example of this because we did not have it pegged to be as good as it was either. I will say that, reality tends to overwrite my memory of things a lot, where I look at deck lists and I'm like, oh, of course those are the good cards, as opposed to what I thought were the good cards earlier on. I'm trying to think of stuff from recent Standard that might be super surprising. I know that Collected Company actually is one that we did not think was going to be a huge deal, which, I like where it ended up and I love the decks that it makes, but as far as us having that pegged as something that was going to be a tournament caliber card, especially one across multiple formats, I think we just thought it was more of a fun build around, and you never know what was going to happen when you cast it, and that was a recent surprise for sure.
People really wanted Modern Elves to work, though.
Just imagine.
Oh yeah, it's in a lot of decks. It does a lot of things, and a lot of them are really cool. And it's a fun card, and I'm glad it's good, but I don't think it was one that we had at the top of our list by any means.
I just imagine people coming into R&D being like, hey, did you see the deck list from the weekend? No? Collected Company. And then, really?
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah, the first time it's like, oh, the Collected Company, wow, that's surprising. Then it's like Collected Company, Collected Company, Collected Company. Oh, wow, we were really off on that one. Holy cow. Never a great feeling, but, there's only so many of us and tons of cards and decks to test, so we do our best, and generally we're pretty good, but every once in a while we get surprised.
Which, adds some excitement, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I talk to players about this, and I say, would you rather would you rather that we knew everything that was going to happen before we released the set, or would you rather us not quite know what was going to happen when we released the set? And when they think about it on those terms, they don't want us. It's not like we're making a crossword puzzle. There's one answer, and you're going to find that answer. No, it's here's a box of toys. Not quite sure what you're going to do with it. Maybe it'll be what we did with it. Maybe it'll be something totally different. I think people like knowing that maybe there's something broken in there, and I'm going to be the guy to find it.
There is a very avid fan of Plane Chase who wants to know is there any chance of more Plane Chase, or maybe even just more planes?
This question is not for me, but I also have this question.
Nothing in the immediate future. I know that it has fans. It did okay. It did well enough that we made 2 of them. But in the meantime, I think we found like Conspiracy has been really popular, so that's something that we're looking at maybe doing more of. We're always looking for new formats for that kind of casual play thing. I don't think Plane Chase was by any means a runaway success, that we're just ready to keep executing on that. We'll see. Over time, I think demand will build up to the point where we're going to want to do another one, but it is not in our immediate plans.
Cool. There are some serious questions in here about basically card availability in Modern. How do you feel about card availability in Modern right now? And are you guys working on that?
Modern has been kind of a monster success beyond what we had predicted by any means. Like, it has blown away, every other non-standard constructed format. It has far, far, far surpassed what Extended ever did. I've just heard tales of the Grand Prix in Pittsburgh this weekend is sold out, and people are trying to pay extra to people that are already there for their tickets. So every time we think we got a handle on it, it keeps getting bigger and bigger. That said, we are walking a fine line between providing cards for people and not decimating anyone's collection. This was the folly of Chronicles, was that it just decimated everyone's collections back in the day, which led to the dreaded reserved list that everyone keeps pinging me about getting rid of. Anyway, we have made Modern cards more available. We've done that multiple times. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep putting them in sets. We're going to keep putting them on other products. We're going to keep making them more and more available. So I don't know if it's ever going to totally satisfy the people that think we should just blow the doors off, but I don't think that's a smart move for anyone. But it's something we're always going to have our eye on and always do our best to walk that fine line.
Modern has a special place in, I think, our hearts as well. That was the first year that Graham got invited to compete in the Community Cup, and took a bunch of us down there as his sort of camera documentary crew. And so we got to be there for the birth of Modern at the Community Cup, and we felt very good about that.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, the format is really cool, and I enjoy playing it, and just the vast variety of different decks that pop up is something that it's really exciting, and I think we've been managing it well. I know people get upset when we ban cards, but I think in general we have been making the format healthier and healthier, and more people are enjoying it. So I'm definitely proud of what we've done with that format. I'm happy that it exists, and we're just trying to figure out the right spot for it to fit into our kind of overall portfolio of offerings.
To continue on the slightly personal note, are you aware of the format, largely local to Victoria, British Columbia, but rapidly expanding, Canadian Highlander?
I am very aware of it. I haven't played it yet. I have lunch with Randy Bueller, a Hall of Fame Magic player that actually was in my position prior to me having this position. I have lunch with him every other week, and he tells me about his Canadian Highlander decks that he's been building and playing when he goes to travel to the Pro Tours and whatnot. It sounds super cool. I think I'll enjoy the format a lot.
So Marshall's got Randy playing it now too?
Marshall's got Randy playing it. Marshall's got Blake Rasmussen, who's on our web team, playing it as well.
Trick is definitely putting together stuff online.
Some decks.
That all happened because he came up to a pre-release here.
He came up to the Magic Origins pre-release.
And the local players basically cornered him and were like, you need to try this.
Yeah, you would love this format.
And he was like, I do love this format.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I would like it too. It's a matter of me digging through all of my cards and finding things to put them together.
Well, next time we see you at a GP or something, do not be surprised if we challenge you to some
Okay.
Canadian Highlander.
All right, I'll make sure to get something built. I'm not sure what I want to do. I think I wanted to have him Datorak in it. That's a card I haven't cast in a while. And
This is-
yeah.
Mind Twist
I was
was
gonna say-
recently unpointed.
I was going to say go all the way.
Because
Get
it was
Mind Twist on
decided
there.
that the
Oh,
card
I
was
put that in
not as powerful as much as it was a feel bad, and that the feel bad was not necessarily a reason to have it pointed. So you can also run that at 0.
no problem.
Should you?
I have no problem making people feel bad. In that.
Quote.
Yeah, I often joke that, if you want me to interact positively with customers, do not give me a magic deck.
There's actually a person here who says that they were very happy to be trounced by you at PAX as an Eldrazi.
Nice.
And thank you for being a stand-up guy while doing that. So, definitely that came across well.
Oh, good.
Those
Good.
Eldrazi decks we had were powerful.
Yeah, I was sad to miss out on that.
Yeah.
I won 11 of my 11 matches playing Eldrazi. And once they started counting, like, oh, how many have you won in a row? I'm like, well, all right, now I can't lose. So I managed to stay undefeated through that whole event. I tried to, be happy about it. Oh, that was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Me annihilating every permanent you had and you dying with nothing on the board. Wasn't that a lot of fun? People generally agreed. And it was a lot of fun for me, that's for sure.
I know that I often got accused of similar nefarious practices when teaching Pokemon to kids at the game store that I worked at circa like 1999. So
How old were you compared to the kids?
I don't know. I was like 10 years older or something
Yeah.
like that. But my deck was also really bad. It had 4 basic Pokemon in it, so it's not. So, rules question: did you spend any time as a judge in your pre R&D career?
No, I didn't. I mean, I feel like I know the rules pretty well, and I have lots and lots of heavy rules discussions here with the rules manager and editors on the team, but I was never actually a judge.
Okay. Well, maybe you can answer this anyway, at least from your R&D insights.
Okay.
You and your opponent have nearly identical decks and identical sleeves, and you accidentally shuffle half of your deck into half of your opponent's deck.
Oh.
What do you do?
Okay, that's not a game rules question. That's like a floor rules question. What
Miserable.
do you do? You call a judge, and they will.
I'm
either
assuming
ask-
here that you are the judge answering this judge call.
Oh, then I guess we have to just meticulously separate everything out into piles, and perhaps I don't know if there's a penalty for this, but I can imagine you getting an extension on the round for this, or
I mean, shouldn't there be registered deck lists?
There
There
should
will
be registered deck lists.
Yeah, I mean, I think the players can just agree on whose cards are what without needing to pull out the deck lists.
Failure to maintain deck property.
Yeah, and it sounds like a mess. It sounds very
Sure
embarrassing.
does.
I don't know that I've ever seen it, so I guess I don't know exactly what the true procedure for that would be. I guess if I was a judge, I would just say, all right, let's separate these out and figure out whose cards are what. Give you a 2-minute extension on the game, and it's a little slap on the wrist or something. But
And like from the chat,
not-
Hot Liquid Jello suggests find a dark corner and cry.
yeah, it's like, hey, just let's play with this new crazy mixed up deck. This game will be fun.
I believe that there is a magic card that allows you to do that,
Yep.
as designed by one Mr. Garfield.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have a favorite creature type? This is sort of wrapped up.
Didn't we talk about
We
squirrels
talked
already?
about squirrels.
Squirrels, they weren't my favorite. My favorite, which doesn't exist anymore, was townsfolk. That used to be that was a creature type that was printed on a bunch of cards before I actually came to work at Wizards. Cards like Treasure Hunter and Scrivener and a few other ones that it was like, oh, my job is to be a dude, I'm the baker or whatever. So I don't know. I had a deck built around that actually submitted for the Invitational. They had an auction of the people, and I submitted my townsfolk deck that it didn't get picked, but it got an honorable mention. And I thought that was really cool. And then I got here, and they had eradicated townsfolk as a creature type, which I understand, but that was my favorite.
I just want to take a moment to quickly remind folks that right now, if you donate $11.71 or a multiple thereof, you will be eligible to take home or have digitally
have transported into your Magic Online account.
yes, a playset of Standard. So if you've just tuned in since our chat with Aaron started, be aware that if you go to desertbus.org and place a donation of $11.71 or a multiple thereof, you may be able to experiment with Standard
That's
the way few others have the opportunity to do.
Of every card in Standard into your Magic Online account. If you don't have a Magic Online account, you can make one. And if you win this, you definitely should.
And that includes 4 Jace Vryn's Prodigy.
That's
Yes.
true, actually.
It does.
Which
And that guy is awesome.
that guy has shown up in this. That's one that I would say is a surprising one for me. That's shown up outside where I expected it to. I expected it to be a pretty good Standard card, and it's obviously very powerful. But the fact that it's shown up in some Legacy lists now is again quite shocking.
Someone said, how does it work if I don't have a Magic Online account? Well, if you don't have a Magic Online account and you win the draw, make a Magic Online account. It costs you $10. Then tell us what your Magic Online account is, and then we can send you the cards.
Sorry,
And then you'll be happy you have a Magic Online account.
Yeah.
Aaron, you were just about to comment on Jace?
It's funny. We knew that version of Jace was going to be really powerful. And then when we were reading kind of the reactions to it when it got spoiled or previewed going into Magic Origins, most people were like, oh, this card's not that good. Oh, he dies to everything.
Any
Like,
Jace
wow.
that's not as good as the Jace that everyone...
I'm saying maybe we misevaluated this. I thought this card was going to be awesome. And it took a little while. But I think he has proven himself to be awesome.
Those Planeswalkers in general, though.
It's the Mind Sculptor problem, though. It's any Jace that isn't as good as the one that everyone agrees is broken
Yeah.
is somehow not good. And it's like, no.
I'm not even sure this guy is worse than Jace the Mind Sculptor. I'm not. Well, time will tell. But 2 mana. Really powerful.
I like seeing people creatively exiling cards from their graveyard so that they can keep them from flipping. Just because a looter is really good.
Yeah, I mean, like it's been that whole cycle is really interesting because it's like you took cards that were already known to be very powerful and said let's print the most powerful version, like let's print the most powerful Savannah Lion that we've ever done, the most powerful looter that we've ever done. Yeah, it's super cool concept.
Yeah, once you slap legendary on something, then like you get to push it a little further than normal. Right? Savannah Lion is. We've made better than Savannah Lion on a few cards, but just saying legendary you can only have 1 in play, you suddenly get a whole little bit more power band to play with. And yeah, I think that cycle turned out tremendously well. I mean, Nissa and Jace are kind of the headliners, but Liliana is or should be showing up in some decks, and Gideon and Chandra are sweet as well.
Do you have a favorite playtest name for a set, by the way?
Playtest name for a set. No, I find the code names are often for me more confusing than they are cool.
I love what you did, what Wizards as a whole did with the playtest names when the transition was made from core sets to not core sets. That they worked.
Oh yeah. The blood, sweat.
Because it was blood, sweat, and tears, and then became
we got
blood,
to add
sweat,
tears, and fears.
Yeah.
That's
we had that happen with the Lorwyn block as well. I think that was peanut butter, and then Shadowmoor was jelly, and then Eventide became donut. So we had peanut butter and jelly donut.
I appreciate that anyway.
Yeah, I think that was super well done. We also have like people. There's a couple of people here who are talking about wanting to go back to Ravnica again. From my point of view, we were just sort of in Ravnica, but at the same time, we are going back to Innistrad.
Yeah.
And so I assume that this is going to allow a little bit more revisiting of old planes.
I did appreciate there was a Photoshop that was being passed around after Shadows over Innistrad was announced. I'm really excited about Shadows over Innistrad, by the way, but the Photoshop was like coming next fall, and the name of the set was, I don't know, I guess Ravnica again.
Yeah, I saw that. That was clever. I'll give you credit for that. We're going to 2 places a year. We're going to mix up new and old. whatever the popular old things are will be near the top of the list of what we want to go back to. Ravnica, despite us spending 6 sets there already, continues to be one people keep asking for. So no doubt in my mind that we will figure out another time to go back to Ravnica.
And is there a plane that you would personally really like to go back to? Whether or not that it's really feasible to do so.
We take this in no way as any sort of confirmation.
Like, say, I really wanted to go back to Urgotha. That's what it was called.
Olgrotha. That was my answer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool stuff in Homelands creatively. I like the story they were trying to tell, the Sarah and Sengir stuff, and the different families, and all the different legends they had in that set. It felt, it resonated with me. The cards were terrible, and it has gotten this like joke-like bad rap that's just like Homelands is the worst set of all time. And I believe that sentence gets said by people that didn't play Magic for 10 years until after Homelands had rotated out of Standard. Like, they just have no sense of what Homelands even is, never seen any of the cards, but they know to say Homelands is the worst set of all time.
I did draft it at PAX East this year.
Yeah.
Was it awesome?
Graham, I think I can speak for both of us because we've had this discussion before where, like, when Homelands came out, card accessibility had been a problem for a long time for a lot of sets. Like, Legends came out, and I remember going to my game store locally and buying 2 packs for like $10 in 1994 money each, and then never seeing it again. And then Fallen Empires came out. It was very accessible, and that was kind of okay, except for it was like that was a set where I was like, I don't really know what's going on here. Homelands I loved, and Homelands I loved because it had all the awesome characters, and it was very evocative. Also, there's an amazing Homelands comic out there that is entirely illustrated by Rebecca Gay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that is absolutely fantastic and delves into all the politics and whatnot. Just super, super evocative. So I think we can stand... Go ahead.
And say in general, this happens in movies as well. Something does really, really well, a smash hit movie, then you make a sequel of the smash hit movie, and it's really hard to follow up on whatever it was that made the first movie amazing. Like you make sequels of things that have been proven to be amazing, and there's not a lot of gap to go higher than that. What I would like to be able to do is do kind of the redemption of this bad thing, because I think there's tons of room to do Homelands better, or tons of room to do Kamigawa better, or whatever. That's
what people thought Innistrad was going to be when that first
teaser image. People were like, "Oh man, that's Baron Sengir that's dead. Liliana killed him."
The problem is that there's just so much negative baggage that in order to get you excited about it, or get the general population excited about it, is such a hard thing to do, as opposed to saying, "How about thing you loved again?" And they're like, "Yeah, thing we loved again," as opposed to, "How about thing you hate again?" And they're like, no, thank you. So from a kind of an artiste standpoint, I would love to do Homelands again, but from a business person, it would be kind of a dumb idea.
I just want, because Magic players like when cycles are completed, that there has to be, there always has to be parallels or cycles or whatever. I just hope that if we do go back to Olgrotha, that we get the Homelands chime that destroys all the cards from the Apocalypse expansion.
Yes.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. That sounds like a great idea. Maybe that can be we'll put that one in the next time spiral. How about that?
Oh, that's actually a great home for that card.
Such a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, or if there were another unset coming, it would.
Yeah, I actually want to write that down. That's funny. Homelands chime. Yeah. That's really good. All right.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know if you've been watching the chat, but the entire chat for this whole discussion of other various things had like the word Kamigawa listed about like 30,000 times.
Kamigawa. Yep.
So much Kamigawa.
Everything has its fans. It's like, did anyone in the world like X? The answer is yes, and some of them very passionately so.
Am I the only one who? No. You are never the only one who X.
Right.
Other people suggesting Portal 4 Kingdoms.
Time Spiral 2. Time Spiral 2 would be... That was the most fun set to work on for me, was Time Spiral, because it was just a bunch of crazy mashup in-jokes. Again, not a great set by any means. From as far as the business was concerned, it really turned off a lot of our players, but it was self-indulgent in a good way, and I had a lot of fun with it. That's probably my favorite set to play even currently is Time Spiral.
The fact that you sort of like set the stage on fire at the end of that one by burning down Dominaria, also, very helpful.
Helpful, huh? Okay.
Well,
Dominaria is another place that people keep sending us messages about wanting to go back to. So, we've taken note of that, and who knows?
Yeah, I did note that there was a meeting room last time we were at WotC called Dominaria, so we know it still exists in your hearts.
Right, that's our big downstairs kind of public gathering area.
That's where we did the Community Cup from this year.
Yeah, we have our employee pre-releases there and whatnot. So yes, Dominaria still has a place in our hearts for sure.
And they have the arcade game of the Dungeons and Dragons arcade game.
The Chronicles of Mystara is set up
Yeah.
there. Yeah, we were doing Extra Life from there as well. So
Sweet.
Yeah, that is not one of the all-time best arcade games, but it does have a lot of nostalgia value.
Yeah, good point. Don't forget the $9 Nemesis chair.
Oh, that's true. Actually, maybe we should get to that because we've taken a great deal of your time. We appreciate your hanging out with us for this period.
No problem.
One thing that we're asking people about this year, this is not your first rodeo, so you probably expected this. We have a question that someone is giving us donations for answers to. The question is, if you were the nemesis of a superhero, if you were the supervillain, which hero would you be the nemesis of, and who would you be?
So I have to make up who I'd be?
You have to make up who you'd be and say who you would be the nemesis of.
And I'm making up who the hero is as well?
The hero is, I believe, an established hero.
Oh, an established hero.
So
Okay.
you are a new villain to an established hero.
All right. Let's see. Who would I be the nemesis to? I think I'll be the nemesis to Squirrel Girl, since that's kind of been the topic du jour here. So Squirrel Girl, kind of an obscure
Isn't Squirrel Girl
cult favorite Marvel hero.
theoretically one of the most powerful Marvel heroes?
Theoretically,
Right, she's defeated, like,
the most powerful.
Doctor Doom and
All right.
I don't know, Galactus or MODOK. I don't know. I was looking at her Wikipedia page the other day because my daughter was asking about her. But so she's secretly very, very powerful. Now, who would I be to be the nemesis of Squirrel Girl? Let's see.
specifically, very hard or theoretically a very hard road to hoe, given that you would more or less always lose.
Right. I'm trying to think. So what's gonna defeat squirrels? How about like Badger Man or something like that? Just like give me one notch up on the food chain from Squirrel Girl.
The charging badger?
Yeah, with Trample, the giant badger.
Yes.
That's an obscure old card. Something that can devour squirrels at a decent rate.
Giant Badger?
So yeah, we'll say Badger Man. That's what
Badger
it's
Man.
like.
Giant Badger also from Homeland? Yes, no?
Giant Badger was from a book, a novel.
Oh, right!
Send in your coupon from your magic novel to get copies of Giant Badger.
I think you're thinking of Ice Age with the Rhysorian badger.
I might be. I don't like Spirit Bears were definitely Homelands.
And
Yeah.
we reprinted Giant
And
Badger.
Joven's ferrets.
We printed
Yeah.
Giant Badger 10th edition.
Nobody else's ferrets. Only Joven's.
I also like that Mammoth Harness was in Homelands, and as opposed to Ice Age, where it would have made much more sense. Aaron,
All the mammoths have been harnessed in Homeland.
I do like the sort of patched together story, incidentally, of the early Magic sets, where it's like, okay, the Brothers' War happens, and Urza blows everything up, and then, like, hundreds of years later, or the people get all scared, and it's the dark, and then there's an Ice Age because of the magical disaster. That was nice. It was like an old video game story, but obviously you guys are doing much better things now.
Yeah, I've had to look at a lot of that stuff for work from time to time, and I think we have in many ways kind of the same problem Star Wars was having, where it's like a whole bunch of different people rolled a whole bunch of different stuff at a whole bunch of different times. Some of them talked to each other, some of them didn't, and it's like, wow, this is convoluted and weird.
Do you have a favorite piece of like old school Magic lore from like pre story revamp?
I mean, I think the one that kind of stuck with me as a young player was the Garth One Eye story. Was it the Arena? Was it the Arena novel? I forget which one it was, but it was like the very descriptive fights using like real magic cards. Like two wizards are battling, and one of them casts Fissure, which was a card from the dark that destroyed a land or a creature. And so it talks about how he casts Fissure in the middle of this town to hurt his enemy, and all these random villagers fall into the fissure because that's what happens when powerful wizards battle. Is there's tons of splash damage and casualties amongst the bystanders. I was like, wow, is this what I do when I play Magic? I just like randomly destroy towns and villagers in my quest to defeat my enemy. It was
sure, why not?
It took the metaphor really far, and it kind of made me think about what exactly this game is trying to represent.
The one thing I remember about that novel, which I probably read 20 years ago, was it leaned heavily on the card Psionic Blast, constantly referencing Psionic Blast.
Yeah, that's true. That must have been a favorite of the author, because I don't think they were given much direction about like you need to capture these things in the book. Just kind of go nuts and write a story. You know what magic is, and see what you come up with.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Aaron, for joining us tonight and for helping us give away our playset of Standard on Magic Online.
13 minutes left in that giveaway.
That giveaway is going on for a little longer, and
happy to do it, guys. Great cause, great bunch of guys. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.
Do this every year. Yep.
And we look forward to playing some Highlander against you at an upcoming event next time we see you.
Oh yeah, I will definitely put something together.
Sweet.
Lots of fun. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much. Have a good night.
All right. Take care.
Bye. So